This is Behind the Mic with AudioFile Magazine, where the subjects are audiobooks and the actors who narrate them. I'm Jo Reed, and I have with me contributor to AudioFile Magazine, Alex Richey. And Alex, it's Halloween week, so I'm thinking that's your theme, something spooky.
Oh, you know me so well. This is my favorite time of year, and I am so excited to talk about these audiobooks.
And what ones are you talking about?
Today we're going to talk about Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle and narrated by Mara Wilson. Then we'll talk about Hemlock Silver by T. Kingfisher, read by Jennifer Pickens. And last we'll talk about Among Ghosts by Rachel Hartman, read by Will Watt.
Okay, those are three really good audiobooks. Let's start with Lucky Day.
Oh boy. Okay, so this is actually a perfect example of an audiobook that I can't imagine reading in print just because of the narration, just how serious Mara Wilson takes this performance despite how comically absurd the premise is. It's great. So this is Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle and read by Mara Wilson.
And Chuck Tingle is, what isn't he? He writes gay erotica, he writes romance.
He writes stories about dinosaur billionaires and helicopters, and I've been a huge fan of Chuck Tingle for a long time. So I can't believe I've never talked about Chuck Tingle on this podcast before, and I'm so honored that this is my first time.
Well, and also Mara Wilson narrated Bury Your Gaze, which is Chuck Tingle's previous book.
Yes, and she was fantastic in that one too. So you know that you're going to go in for a good time. If you really liked that last audiobook, you will also enjoy this one.
Okay, tell us a bit about it if you can.
Sure. So the story opens with Vera, a statistics professor celebrating the publication of her first book and preparing to come out to her mom that she's bisexual. And her mom doesn't take this very well. The two go outside, they start an argument, but that is when the low probability event happens. What's a low probability event, you might be wondering?
I am, thank you.
So when this happens, it starts to rain fish from the sky, which causes several deadly accidents. We've got a monkey wearing a costume, bashing people with a typewriter. These are just a couple of examples. There's more.
I'm
Yep.
sure.
So Vera's mom and several of Vera's friends die this day, but Vera manages to escape. And as you can imagine, when a statistically impossible amount of statistically impossible things all happen at the same time, being a statistician suddenly becomes a pretty useless profession. So for 4 years, Vera is living alone and depressed in the aftermath of her life becoming basically meaningless. So Mara's performance through all of this is really sobering and serious. She keeps her tone heavy and it really grounds you in the story. It keeps the tone very horror despite all of the absurd. And she also does a really good job of depicting Vera's trauma very genuinely with a lot of emotion. And I think most impressively, because Vera is a statistics professor, so you can imagine that a lot of her inner monologue is filled with statistics. But Mara even keeps that really engaging the entire time. And it's just fascinating how many things Vera dives into with those segments.
I think it's so important when you're narrating a book that has this kind of absurdity in it. And as we said, his stuff is so wildly creative. You can't keep signaling like,
Yes.
absurd, absurd. I mean, you have to take it very seriously.
Yes, this is why Mara was a really good choice for this audiobook.
So should we hear a little bit of her?
Yeah. So I've got a clip for you where Vera is explaining how, despite all of her research, she can't find any hard evidence that proves that this impossibly lucky casino is doing something nefarious. And you'll hear that Mara does a really good job of balancing sounding suspicious, but also sardonic at the same time.
Yeah, she is really good at sardonic. I just want to say. Anyway, sorry. This is Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle, read by Mara Wilson.
For the last 13 years, this casino has clawed its way to the top of the heap by loudly making one simple claim. Customers will come if we put the odds in their favor, and we will cover our losses with auxiliary purchases that are driven by our popularity. It's no wonder they can charge 10 times the room rate compared to anywhere else on the Strip and stay booked for years in advance. In fact, the closest thing they've had to a scandal is when other people were subletting their suites and making a killing. This is an absurd business model, something that shouldn't work, statistically speaking. Yet, no matter how deep I dive into their affairs, I always reach the same answer. They're playing by the rules.
Well, she won an Audio Award for Bury Your Gaze.
I'm not surprised to hear it.
No, and you can see another one coming. She has such a pleasing voice that can be, it's like commanding and confident and smart, and can keep us on track through a roller coaster ride of a book.
Oh, yeah. So the rest of the story is just like a horror mystery. You've got Vera recruited to uncover the connection between all those low probability events with hundreds of deaths and the impossibly lucky casino that you heard about in the clip.
I love the idea of that impossibly lucky casino.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It sounds great until you understand what's actually happening.
And there is a lot of violence in this book. People should know going in.
Yes, I would say this isn't scary, but it's very visceral and very violent.
Okay, and that's always good to know. And your second choice, Hemlock and Silver.
Yes. So Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher and read by Jennifer Pickens. So this is a really unique take on Snow White, sort of reimagined as a dark horror fantasy, but you've got the author's signature dry humor. And then you have Jennifer Pickens, who does this really good job of delivering on that humor, but also adjusting for all of the characters in the story.
Yeah, she narrated Seduction Theory, which I talked about with Stephen Cummings just 2 weeks ago, and I listened to it,
Mhm.
and she can really take on a host of characters.
Yes, and she's also done several of the other audiobooks by T. Kingfisher, so she's a really good choice.
So she knows her work really well. So tell us a little bit about this one.
Sure. So we've got Anya, who is an expert on poisons and regularly drinks them in order to test out their effects and potential cures. So, an interesting character to start with. And Pickens immediately connects to just how straightforward and pragmatic Anya is, but also to her awkwardness as she stumbles through interactions with other people. As you can imagine, people meeting Anya don't really understand exactly what she's doing.
Right.
So the king summons Anya to come to his castle in order to save his dying daughter, Snow, because it seems like she's being poisoned. And he knows he has enemies, but he's not entirely sure how it's happening. And Anya knows a lot about poisons. When we meet Snow, Pickens does a really good job of making her sound youthful and breathy and weak. But she's also just not cooperating at all with this investigation.
Huh. Okay, and I'm sure you find out why as you listen.
Yes, you do. So Anya's trying things, but nothing seems to really be working. But that's when she accidentally stumbles into her mirror and enters this strange reflected world. And this is another moment where the narration is just so delightful and enthusiastic because this place is so interesting, despite it being really weird and gray. And there is something connecting this parallel mirror world and its reflected inhabitants to Snow's affliction.
Oh, that's really interesting. And should we hear a little now?
Yeah, so you're going to hear a scene where Anya is packing up to prepare for her trip to the king's castle. She's talking with her sister in this scene. And what you really get a sense of is the writing style's dry humor mixed with just how well Pickens delivers it.
All right. Hemlock and Silver by T. Kingfisher, read by Jennifer Pickens.
I had very little hope of my distilling equipment arriving in the same number of pieces that it left, but I was going to do my damnedest anyway. Perhaps the king had access to wagons that didn't rattle like the bones of the dead. Isabel sat up straighter, clearly struck by a sudden thought. Wait, what are you going to wear? I had planned on wearing clothes, but I am open to suggestions. My sister groaned. No, you don't have any clothes. Not any that you can wear in public. He's already seen me in my worst gown. I don't think he cares. He probably doesn't, but everyone else will. I sighed. I have a perfectly respectable wardrobe. I go out in public in it all the time. Yes, but you look like a nun. Isabel, I'm going to try to cure the king's daughter. If I succeed, no one will care what I'm wearing.
Oh, that's a good clip. That really is, because I'm immediately picturing 2 women,
Mhm.
both so distinct. I mean, I think Jennifer has such a talent for characterization.
Oh, she does. There's also this really great talking cat in this story, and he's got the most pleasant, smooth purring voice, but he's also incredibly unhelpful, and it just adds to that irritation for the characters. It's so perfect.
Is it violent? Is it scary? Where are we on that?
I would say it's not very scary. The horror here is more atmospheric horror. There's some pretty bizarre things going on in this mirror world, but nothing's gonna jump scare you.
Okay. And finally, Among Ghosts.
Right. So Among Ghosts by Rachel Hartman and read by Will Watt. This one did win an earphones, and you will soon hear why.
Oh, yeah, I'm listening to it.
Oh,
And
great. Oh,
and
that's awesome.
I know why. Will Watt is my new love. He is amazing, but I'll let you take it over.
Sure. So Among Ghosts is set in the world of the author's Serafina series, but happily, you don't need to listen to the other books in the series in order to enjoy this one. This one is a perfectly acceptable standalone.
That's right, because I've never listened to Serafina,
Uh huh.
and I am captivated by this.
So, and as you know, Will Watt is narrating, and he's so comforting to listen to. His voice is so warm and
Oh,
inviting, and he just immerses you into this lovely world of fantasy and dragons.
he's wonderful. And again, the breadth of voices that he takes on in this, and he's so good with women.
Yeah. No, I'm completely with you there. I'm so glad you're getting a chance to hear just how good this is.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So you go on.
All right. So, several years ago, Charles and his mother escape from his cruel father, who is an earl, and they make a life for themselves in a town called St. Muckles, which is full of peasants. But then a deadly beetle plague starts to spread, and a lot of suspicion is falling on Charles' mother. And then soon after that, before anyone can really have a chance to breathe, a dragon is attacking their town, and Charles flees with a nun to a nearby abbey. However, the abbey is haunted by ghosts. So the ghosts of several young girls, but also a murderous bishop.
Whoa, not murdered, but murderous.
Murderous, yes, he's pretty
Ooh,
scary.
the worst kind.
So to reunite with his mother and escape the clutches of his father once and for all, Charles does need their help.
Just a word about the characterization of the way he performs Charles, because he's so good at this young boy who is so kind and so thoughtful, and you feel that kindness in the way he narrates him.
Hmm. It's so warm-hearted.
Oh, lovely. Should we hear a little?
Yeah, let's hear a little. So
Okay.
in the clip that we've got, you have Rafe, who is Charles' bully at the beginning of the story, and he's planning an ambush on Charles, and he's gathered two other boys to help him with this. So this is a perfect example of just what earned an Earphones Award for Will Watt's narration, because you really hear how well he's differentiating the characters and filling them with personality.
All right. Among Ghosts by Rachel Hartman, read by Will Watt.
They flopped onto the battlement, gasping like fish out of water. "He didn't tell us we were going to have to climb the blasted ivy," cried Wart when he had recovered enough to speak. He was a well-muscled lad, good for landing a punch, but apparently not so nimble on a vertical surface. "Someone locked the gates," said Rafe disdainfully. "They weren't locked the last time I was here." "It was probably the busybody brigade trying to keep people out after that boy fell down the well," offered Huey. He was narrower, wiry, and trying very hard to grow a goatee, which made his face look smudged from a distance. "Remember that boy who drowned a couple years ago? John Eel Hook?" Rafe glared across the ruin and didn't answer. He remembered that boy more vividly than either of these louts possibly could. Rafe remembered him screaming.
Aside from these beautiful characterizations, I also think he has an exceptional narrative voice.
Yeah, for sure. He just carries that through line.
He really does.
This is a story with a lot of character threads that come together in interesting and surprising ways. And he really gets you through all of that.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, so this is not a scary story, but this does have, as you've noticed so far, several moments that have some real human cruelty.
Yeah.
And despite that, like, Charles is such a kind character, and Will Watt delivers on that so well. It leaves you feeling really warm.
And I really like having a kind, warm-hearted boy at the center of something. You don't always see that. Who's also the hero, but who's also the one who's really pushing this narrative forward. And we should say this is a YA title.
Yes, this is a YA title. Charles is 13 years old.
Yeah. Okay, you had some week.
Oh, yes. I'm so happy I could talk about these.
I'm so happy you did too. Well, Alex, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful Halloween.
Thank you. You too.
Follow Behind the Mic wherever you get your podcasts, and then leave us a rating. It really does help people to find us. Support for Behind the Mic comes from Dreamscape, an award-winning audiobook publisher with a catalog that includes authors L.J. Shen, Frida McFadden, and Katie Robert. Discover your next great listen at dreamscapepublishing.com. Behind the Mic is produced by Jessica Lockhart, Robin Whitten, Michelle Cobb, Stephen Cummings, Leslie Fine, Alan Minskoff, Alex Richey, Laura Rossi, and Kendra Winchester are our contributors. Jennifer Dell and Coco McCracken are our editors, and the music is William Ross Chernoff's Nomads, Orway. And I'm your host, Joe Reed. Good listening.